I'm here with this project that I've been working on for a lot of weeks now, and I put quite a lot of input. However, this project is not going to be the same uh, structured as the same as that we develop on games or any other type of application that relates to games. It's more of a technical, hands-on project. Um, so first of all, I'm just going to give you the title of the project. It's a vehicle wireless controller and monitor app. Yeah, this is an application which is developed to replace such stuff like keyless entry, also monitor any transducers. These are like transducers, like sensors for the oil, temperature, engine oil, also monitor any other sensors like temperature sensors of the car. Actually, the behavior of the engine as well can be monitored and controlled from this application. The battery levels for some stuff like the electric cars, some vehicles like that, and also in terms of electric cars, they do the same monitoring likewise, but the combustion engine is also slightly different, but all that can be controlled wirelessly. The focus here is not only on the engine but also the luxurious of the car, which is what the app can actually do by itself, and also what is actually used by the user, uh, the punters and the people that use the vehicles. Here we got examples of what type you could actually use this for. Which, for example, if it's winter, you can preheat the car from inside the house, and it will tell you what temperature you set it at, and then it tell you the car is ready. And then if you possibly you're making breakfast and you want to heat that car up before you jump in and go to work, that will be a good thing to have. In summer, if it's too hot and you're just working in the office and you know the car is going to be way hot where it's parked, you can preheat it, cool it down, so you can cool the car down before you get to the car, and then eventually when the car is ready, it's cooled down, it tells you it's ready. That sort of function. The key function of this vehicle safety feature is that it allows you or the user to configure his or her mobile device, and will only initiate this device with a secured password before it takes control of the vehicle. And also, it's just the safety features. They can be more complex than that. Some with the what this here fingerprints and different other voice recognition and other things that you can put to the app. There's a lot that this app can expand to, but for now we are talking about what we can achieve within this goal. And then the option is that when the battery runs flat on this mobile, for instance, this mobile device, it automatically turns the whole car into a manual mode, where you now get access and use the normal key until the mobile phone is charged, and it gives you an option to choose whether you want to go back to the app to take control, or you want to continue using the manual options that are there. And on here what I have is my, obviously, because I have been working through this through weeks. Right, and these are the sort of my week's inputs to the whole project. I'm not going to go through all of them because most of them are gone in them, partly in different parts of it in the videos that I've got in the video that I'm going to be further down. I'm going to be explaining. Week 1 and 2, 3 was a mechanical research. Then obviously it looks like, but it should have been an arrow, but obviously it's a wallboard. This is how I'm going to explain it. Then here, week 4, 5, and 6 was investigation and experiment, and I will post this as well on my on my I will post this again on my blog, so you have all that. So then it goes to, you know, the inputs week 7 and 8 was actually what I've done was a hardware and a software, and using the third party basically interrogated and make sure that it was working while the hardware was connected. Then week 9 and 10, right, the application development. So in the application development was I've also got a video which I set up on explaining all that. I actually done it in C#. Week 11, what did I say, 9 and 10? Okay, week 11 and 12 input that of those weeks. Obviously I'm still, you know, because of most of that stuff is still to be continued, because I only done things to fit into this project. So 11 and 12 was switching to Arduino. So basically this is where I was talking about the voltage in the car is 12 volts and Arduino is 5 volts. So I have to sort of work that out and maybe put something called an LM7805, which chops the voltage to a lower voltage back to 5 volts. And then obviously the third-party software is working on 12 volts. That's what's running the car at the moment, which I will show a bit later as well. Or obviously if that was a car, I mean a truck, we're installing this, for instance, we'll have to step it down from 24 volts, for instance. With that, I then say let me go on and explain my my next which will be, I think it will be, if we look back here, we're now gonna go into the application development. Basically I'm going to explain the Arduino, yeah, with this 5 volts and 12 volts, you know, configuration that I'm actually trying to work out with an LM7805 regulator that will step down the voltage to 12, from 12 to 5 volts. I will explain this in more detail. I get, obviously my board keeps falling apart. It's not the best way to have this, so I actually had to bring it down here because where I needed to explain this more expressed in the way I wanted to. So with that, let me go on and explain the 5 volts, I mean step down from 12 volts to 5 volts, so I could use Arduino as a, you know, as a future, you know, reference plan. Like I promised, I would come and explain how I'm going to get the voltage from 12 volts to 5 volts, like I've explained before. So I'm going to start off by the battery, because it's the vehicle all got like 12 volts battery. That will be my battery here. Then again, that will be my negative, that's my positive. So get a wire going that way and a negative wire going that way. So what we're going to have first, before the battery, let's say we had a rectifier there, that would be sort of like the rectifier, but we got our ground going down that way, okay? And what we got here, we got a capacitor. Alright, this capacitor will be about 1,000 microfarads. That's what you need to do. 1,000, I must write it properly, 1,000 microfarads for that capacitor. And you get another capacitor again. This will be a stabilizer. So this one will be about 0.22 microfarads. Okay? And on the first step, we're going to go up and into, because since this is 12 volts over here, right, this will be the LM7805 that I was talking about, that will step down the voltage to 5 volts here. That was going to come over here. So this will be now 5 volts there. That will be actually used in Arduino. Then on there, this will go to a ground terminal. Right, the ground here. Now, what actually happens to stabilize this circuit here, I'm going to need to put a diode here, right? And that diode is going to be a 1N4007. Then on here, I'm going to have another stabilizing capacitor that's going to be a 0. What could I say? 0.1 is an ideal microfarads. That will do. Okay. Seeing that now it came from 12 volts, it's now stepped down to 5 volts, and here this remained as a 0 voltage. So we can now connect Arduino here. Right, that way we can connect Arduino here. Right, this will be all my circuit I'm going to have to put into the system when I do decide to step into the Arduino direction. But right now I'm using the third party, which uses only this part. This is a DSD PCB that is using the 12 volts. So with that there, I'm going to have to add this circuit into the car and then connect Arduino. Then I'm going to work out my C# and all the other application that I'll show later. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I will show my next stage from here. I'm going to explain the project itself, and then I'm going to basically run a visual part of the project, actually demonstrating it while it's working. But I'm going to explain what I made it for. So I'm going to draw a stick man here. Right, basically he's looking at his tablet. Drew the tablet slightly bigger. So that's the stick man there. And I'm going to draw the vehicle about there. It's not really fantastic drawing because I'm just wanting to explain this. This is the vehicle, right? Little wheels there, and there is the vehicle. Excuse me, yeah, there's a vehicle there. It can be, that's right. So there's a wireless signal going through there. Wireless signal going through that car. Now let's say he wakes up about let's say 5 o'clock, okay, in the morning, AM, and he decides, oh no, I need to warm up, there's too much ice on the car. It's like -5 degrees Celsius outside. So he wants to warm the car up before he jumps into this car because there's lots of ice on the windows and all that, and plus he wants to get this car to about 25 degrees inside the car, 25 degrees Celsius. So what does he do is he goes to his tablet or the mobile device, he sends a signal to start the car and start warming up the car, and then he goes off, he's in the kitchen, he starts making, basically that's his sink there, that's a tap, starts making breakfast over there. When this car is warmed up to 25 degrees Celsius, sends back a signal to him wirelessly, ping, it makes a noise tick, he turns around, oh, my car is 25 degrees now, 25 degrees Celsius, or now I can drive to work. So he drives to work. Now before he leaves or when he gets to the office, he now sets his his app here that please, when I leave here at 5 o'clock, for instance, it says 5 o'clock will be 1700 hours, right? So he says, okay, sets it up on here and says, okay, when it is for what was here, when it is 16:30 hours, please start the car. That's what you set onto the app. Please start the car. and warm up the car to 25 degrees Celsius. So this will start warming up, and it will give him a warning. Basically, some settings will give him a warning maybe when it's 23 degrees Celsius, and tells him about to warm up, and just keep sending him messages when it's getting closer to 25. That's what that app actually does. That's just some of it. But obviously what I've got it for the Sprint was basically to make it obviously start the car, and and then basically start the car from outside and respond and shut it down, all from the tablet, is what we're actually trying to do right now for this Sprint. But this is what is actually supposed to be, the outcome. Those are the future, what could I say, the next step, taking things a bit more, taking things step up or further with the project. Well, I am to demonstrate the Bluetooth app, the third-party software that I've got, the DSD Bluetooth software, Tech Bluetooth, it says. So I'm going to start it off by opening the app, right, and I'm going to connect the app. Go to it says here, we'll go to the relays. They're all off at the moment. That's how I'm going to get that. And like I said before, that light is stabilized, which means it's connected to the Bluetooth here. Right, and just to show you, this is connected to the wire starting from there all the way. The wire runs all the way in here, and it's gone in there. If you can take a look what's in there, get some light. I needed only these wires to be able to activate that, like I explained that in my proposal. Right, and obviously because this is activating the starter motor from here. Right, so what I'm going to do now is basically start it from here. When I switch off the relay, they actually started the car running now. This is a very major thing that we say, but there are many other functions I have actually left out, because the distribution board, or the PCB I was using, like I said before, this one was not compatible to the software needed, because it's an old XP software. So with that, I'm going to shut this off. Right now there's nobody in there, as you can see in the car. There's nobody there in the car sitting there, and obviously I've started this car from here while you're watching. I could quickly do this again while you're watching. Obviously I ran through the application again, so here again. Right, it failed me there because the starter motor, so see it all there. See, so obviously this is running well, no issues on here. Right, so I'll go back and shut this off. Right, so this is communicating wirelessly to the car, and it's starting and doing all the functions it's meant to do. With that, the only thing I need to do is to go and display the other software I'm developing for the app to put onto mobile phones and mobile devices like this one as well. I'm going to develop one piece just for that purpose. I need to explain something over here, because I was actually going to show you again. This is where, when I was doing my my proposal, I had this board connected over here. This is the Propex board, but now I ripped everything off. Obviously I was hoping to have been managed to link this in there, but obviously it's not linking properly, and I have to get another board that will actually work together with all the configuration of all the sensors. In my explanation, which I'll do later, I stripped down the whole engine here, then I rebuilt everything up. I wanted to see where all the sensors are. Sensors in here, sensors over there, sensors everywhere, sensors, the crank sensor, all this was out, the airflow meter, all the stuff I had to see. How the functions and connect, the wiring was also out. I'll show all this up, and it's also on my blog. If anything else, I really wanted to find out how, for the benefit of this app. So this car, I really know what's happening inside it, so I will develop signals and protocols to be able to work with that. like I said before earlier on, that I would explain the function of the engine. When I stripped it down and what I found out, all the pieces, what I went through with the whole thing. So I've got all the pieces up here. Now on here I've got let me start from the taking its time to open up, which is something that I didn't expect it to do this. I need to move faster than this. Let's see if that is gonna be, it's taking a while. Let's try it again. See if it's opened. My computer is letting me down. Open, right? Okay, there we go. It's open. That's a cylinder head here, and over here you got your HT leads with the distributor. I think on the corner there you get your HT coil, okay, which is it's a high voltage that it sends into these HT leads. I'm gonna go to the next one. As I said, that's the coil. That's the HT distributor cap. That's the HT coil. Right. That is a sensor for the heater. For the basically this one here displays how hot the car is. This one here runs your fans, your radiator fans. That's basically what is there. So this pipe here leaves from here and goes to the radiator. This one here goes to the bottom of the radiator. So inside this block is got holes to where they're connected to the back. Right, let's go on. This is the cams, right? So this is what they call an overhead cam, cylinder head overhead cam. The camshafts go from here and they run along that way, which I'll show when I look at the front view. Now the cam belts run around this, and these teeth connect to the cam belts teeth as well, because the cam belt has to lock into there as well as it runs round there. And at the bottom there you get the crankshaft cog as well, which links with this. Okay, like I say, I'll show this. This is the camshafts, two of them. That's why it's known as an overhead engine. There's valves in here. Each valve, you see, like 2, 4, 6, 8. So you got also 8 that side, makes it 16 valves. So this is an overhead 16 valve engine, right? With that, let me move forward. That's the crankshaft I was on about. This side is where you get the flywheel go. That side is where you get that cam belt pulley or cog that comes over here, which is locked into a pin. I did not, while the engine is all together now, I didn't take the pictures of it. So let me just go forward. This is what they call the input or inlet manifold. On this inlet manifold you get these injectors. Right, this is what they call the hydro throttle valve. Right, this is going into there to what they call the airflow meter. Airflow meter is here. The air comes in from the what you call this here. The air filter comes in through there, and then it is taken in there. And obviously the pistons are going to suck the air and fuel from these injectors, and that's how it works. And this is what they call the injector rail. On there you get a fuel regulator over there, right, which regulates the amount of fuel to be injected into here depending on the pressure inside this inside the fuel. So we go again. This is what's called the outlet manifold. That's a Lambda sensor. Lambda sensor measures the gases inside that come out from the combustion, the exhaustion gas. That's what it measures, and then from there it calculates how much fuel, talks to the ECU, and calculates how much fuel should be put into the fuel. Obviously, you know, there's a catalytic converter as well that comes after this, which is also controls the emissions. So all this is calculated inside the ECU, right? That's the flip side of the exhaust. right? And this is what's called the thermostat over here. This is a pipe that leads into the front where it is connected towards the radiator as well. So it leaves from here. The other pipe goes into the car. It's got also another radiator. This other one is leaving from the water pump, and that's a thermostat. It only opens at about 80 degrees of the engine heat up and allows the air to flow into the radiator and as well as into the car to warm up the car. Right. That's the other one. This is a starter motor that we dealt with. This is the what they call the solenoid. That actually, when it's energized, the gear inside is kicked over and pushes and turns the flywheel. I'll show that. That's the other side of it. Here are the terminals for the batteries. So what's connected here is a battery terminal. It's connected in here, and obviously that's when the solenoid closes, energizes these coils. I mean, it's energized and pushes, makes these contacts come together and allows the voltage to go through, and that allows the starter motor to turn. While it's doing that, it pushes the teeth forward in here. I'm just going to show that again. It pushes this cog forward, and the cog, when it goes forward, it turns the flywheel. Right, this is the engine block. This engine block, the main thing it does, transport oil and water as the pump pushes it. While I don't want to bore you out and explain a lot of things, like I said, the radiator transports water from the radiator. So the engine block transport water from the radiator into the engine block and cools the engine and circulates it back to the radiator. The radiator has quickly, let's go there, has some fans. Find where I got them, where I put it. Fans. Got the radiator is here. There is also radiator fans in there. So these fans cool this, radiator, and cools the radiator, and the radiator cools the water inside of the coolant and sends it back to the engine block. And also the oil circulates from the top of the engine with the cylinder head and is taken down into the sump and takes it back again, and as it goes through there also releases the heat because it exchanges between that water. So the oil gets warm, the water also gets warm from the combustion of the chambers, the 4 cylinders or 6, whatever it is. When it combusts, it makes heat. Now I don't want to bore you out and explain everything in here, like I've already put it onto the blog. This is the clutch and the pressure plate. So this is the clutch pressure. This is a clutch plate, and that's a pressure plate. Now these go onto the flywheel here. As you can see, there's marks on there. That's where the pressure plate, the clutch plate would have been, and the pressure plate sits on top of the flywheel as well. This sits on top. In that direction it is. I'm going to go again, and this is a water pump. This is the water pump. This is the side where the cam belt goes, and that's where the water this is the pump that pushes the water. These fans, as you can see, they push the water towards the radiator at a very high speed. This is a tensioner for the cam belt. I don't want to bore you out. That's a throttle valve. I don't want to bore you out with this. So with that, I will stop here because there's a lot of this explained on my blog anyway. So this technical stuff might, bore you out. This is the engine mounting. This is a rubber side, and this part mounts onto the engine itself. Well, that's the car I stripped down. Other than that, there is not much I can explain because everything can go down into details here. You see, and going too much into details at this point is not relevant. But I stripped it down and researched all the sensors where they are, and also looked at the wiring. So from here, I had the idea that I can actually now think about how I'm going to configure the app and and the sensors as something to take this application a bit further. For now, we're going to work on starting and closing it down. That's what we're going to work on, shutting and closing down the engine, so you can do it from outside. It checks your gear position and all that, and tells you and warns you that that's not in gear. That's why we're going to work and explain on that. So the next step is to actually explain to you what my app was actually I was making. Like I said, I was making my own app because I don't want to use the third-party hardware and software. So now I'll quickly run through another video that's gonna show you how I actually developed that, and it's just still got a bit of work to go on. But I mean, this project is working using the third-party software and hardware, which is ideal for now. But obviously, I got a work in progress to continue it and see how that you know is gonna be a success. I'll continue to update my blog. Hello, here again trying to explain this program I put across to this is a startup application. What I mean by startup is the early stage of the application. You'll see it in other stages as it develops. I'm building it up now. As I click there, it's saying exactly what I wanted it to say. Right, is the engine running? If it's okay, I click OK. Let's just see if it was closed down and see if it's saved in the, obviously it's built okay, so I need to see if it's there in the object file where the debug menu is, and find the execution file. If it is working in there fine, then I know everything is good to go, so I can continue developing the program. So let's see. Yep, let's find it here. Just click onto that. It's fine. That's the file there. Let's see if it opens. Yep, it's working. Okay, right, there you go. It's doing what it's meant to be doing, the program. You know, that's exactly correct. Other than that, I think, you know, it's good to go with this. So it's working from the actual development, debugging things. I mean, menu all the way up to the object files that is in the debug folder. Right, so here is the actual dialog, what it will be looking like. But this is early stage, so I haven't put some color into it and all that. There's a lot to add to this app. So I'm back on here again. I just go to, you know, obviously I must okay, that's the Land Rover Freelander engine start thing that we on about, trying to build that. This is the app open from the debug area. I will also look into, where else can we go with this? Let's see. Yeah, this is a property menu, obviously the form property menu. This is where you can change the color, the background, and all that on this property menu here on the bottom here. And then obviously we're going to go into the code. I'm going to change the code, a lot of things to make it function in the way I want, because I'm using what they call the click event from UA. And this is Yosef Yahuda Israel. I'm busy trying to patch up the software, like I said the last time in my show video, that I'll be actually developing my own application. So I've gone on and done that, not just attempt. I'm at the development stages. It might take a while, more time than the actual sprint, because I think the sprint is going to be a bit more time taken onto what we actually want. So far I'll show you what I've done. You know, I'll actually try and build, because I was just about to build it right now with what I was trying to do. On here, actually let me build this so I know I'm not going to make mistakes. First I'm going to save it, save all, because I just modified some things, so I'm just about to check if it works. But anyway, let's see if it's going to work, and I'll explain to you what's working and what's not according to what I had planned in the original state of things. Right, it's still working through, it's building that up. It's now there. That's the application here. Now let's see if it's doing what I said it should be doing. Like here, basically that was a Land Rover Freelander 19. This was again, I'll say this is a 1999 model Land Rover Freelander. First of all, you see this like a warning sign. So ideally, I'm going to get this later on to flash. Right, but I think also flashing might be a problem because the person won't actually read the information. That's because it's quite crucial for the person to know what is actually required on this. You see, that's important for that. So as you can see, it went onto the center of the screen, which is what I wanted to do. That's what it's one of the features that you can program when you actually got the properties there. Now, is it doing exactly what I wanted to do? It's not kind of yet thinking, because it's not thinking with the Bluetooth yet, because I haven't put the Bluetooth protocol coding into it yet. But I just made this is like the frame. So what I've got here is the click to start the engine. But obviously you got to, before starting, please make sure your vehicle is not in gear and the wireless connection is established. That means the wireless connection between this application, whatever device you're using, and the car, because the car will have a Bluetooth module. Right. So let's just see if it's just doing what, because we want it to start at this point. It's going to do a lot more, but at this point here, we just want this application to start and then to stop running. So let's see if it responds to the messages I wanted to show. So here we go. You click there, it's doing exactly what I wanted to do. So the program I set inside there is quite right. So it's saying here, is the engine running? If yes, obviously because I'm not connected to the car yet and the Bluetooth, so I'm going to assume that it's working. So I say yes. Then the engine, you want to stop it from running after it's running. You say stop engine. Maybe you put it in gear and neutral and all that, and you want to keep it running for a while. You close and lock all the doors, right? Or something fancy like that, or or many other ways, because there's a lot to do on this program, on this project. There's a lot to build. It's quite a huge project, but I'm taking just a part for this sprint. So let's see if it will say that. Yes, it's saying what it's meant to do after you click, and that probably sends a signal back to the car and then stops the engine, and we'll exit now. So let's see. There's a problem there. It's kind of not exiting this after it's finished. But I'll probably show you a few things of why it might not be doing that. So let me just close this up, okay, and just maybe go back to my form. I developed the form so I can go back to this code and see why it's not doing that. This is the code that's supposed to shut it off on here. So I probably need to look at that and see why it's not, because this one here is for the stop the car. This one here is to, this one is actually telling you. So maybe I should actually move that into there, but somehow there's something to correct onto here. It's just a small bug. Okay. The other part, this one is left empty. I could go back and add the Bluetooth into this portion, right? But I think in this case I should actually. Okay, we can see that again. I just came back to this dialogue I made here, that it's not closing. It's supposed to shut off for some reason. Let's just go down into the code again, right, and see what it's actually doing. Where's my form again? It's here. Let's just get down into here. One of the other reasons I think on this point is because this is the bug I have to fix live while you're watching. So I'll move this here. I'm lazy to type in, so I'm just going to copy or cut this. Okay, let me leave the piece in there so we know we got a history of it. So what I'm going to do is just to do things live. Okay, it's now in there. I'm not going to tidy that up or tidy that later. Oh, this project. I have not labeled anything in here, so I know it's not the best way to think, but you know, it's how I'm rushing through this to make it right. Okay, so what it was doing is it wasn't shutting down. So I think I can actually show you back what it was actually doing, because I should have it in my execution file. Where are you? It is here. This is my execution file where it's saved into. So I can show you what it's actually doing and what we want it to do. This is the application. It goes in the center what it's supposed to do. So when you, let me just do that again, explain this. When you click this, it's supposed to stop the engine. Then you click OK, it's supposed to collapse this whole dialog. So the engine has stopped, program will exit now. So that's exactly what happened, but it's not doing that. So however, we're going to go back to try to modify, make it work properly the way it's supposed to. So I done away with this little program down here, right? Little code at the bottom, the code. So I'm going to save this because this is my modification, and I just hope that it works. I'm just trying to modify it while I'm recording this, because usually I experiment first and then I record that. So I'm doing this quite live. I build on it after saving, and obviously here it is. So the idea is it must, like here, it doesn't need to collapse because it's still having to have the engine run, and you might need to monitor. So, and also you might need to click that to stop it so it doesn't collapse. So here, when you say OK, engine has stopped, program will exit now. So this is, it must collapse, it must go away. This screen that we're looking at, this Land Rover Freelander dialog must go after I click OK. That's the bug we just fixed now. Let's see if it works. Brilliant, it's working, it's collapsed, it's gone. So if that is what's been saved in there, let's go and see what the execution file is saying. Okay, so once you build everything you saved in the execution file, you go straight into your debug folder, and where you can get your application is your execution file. So let's just open this execution file and make sure it's working the way we said it would. This is working fine. This is working. Let's see if this dialog disappears. That's what we were fixing the last time. That was the bug. So there, it goes away. So it's quite right. So let's see if it's the reading is correct. It says here the engine has stopped. Program will exit now. Then you go click, it goes away. So that's exactly working what we're supposed to have been doing now. So with that, I think I'll come back and show you my other part of this project. I'm just still here. This is as far as the code will go, as far as the app is for now. So I'll pause here for now, and we'll go to the next. With that, this is what I actually put together as the project for the portfolio, and I have a blog, the journal there, and also I have produced a video for the artifacts. Just putting all those together, those videos, and I hope that they will be, adequate. There's a lot of work I've done, and I really worked very hard with this project. It's not exactly what the outcome as a total project would have been, but for the little bit that I needed for this front is excellent, working fine. With that, I say cheers, bye.